Today we're going to talk about multiplying fractions. In your table of contents, you should have been able to put your I can statement, multiply positive and negative fractions. So let's look at this. First thing, let's talk about simplifying fractions. We've talked about this quite a lot already this year, and hopefully throughout other years you've talked about this as well. So to simplify the fractions here, what we're going to do is basically what it is you're taking those factors, those greatest common factors that you can find to make it smaller. But what I'm going to show you today is that if you even do the smallest factor you can find, you can still simplify. You'll just have to do a couple more steps as you do it. So I notice first off that both of these numbers are even. So I know instantly that I can divide them both by 2 because 4 and 2 are even. 14 divided by 2 is 7. 42 divided by 2 is 21. Now, normally I'd look at this and go, yikes, well, I think I'm done actually. But what's kind of interesting is 7 and 21. Let's look at the factors to get 7 and 21. We can do 1 times 7 to get 7. That's it, right? It's a prime number. But 21, we could do 1 times 21 and 3 times 7. So I notice that we can divide them both by 7, which means we can still keep simplifying. So let's divide them both by 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 21 divided by 7 is 3. So now we have simplified this fraction. All right, so let's look over here. Let's recap our rules for multiplying with symbols, whether it's positive or negative. So when we have two positives, well, there are no negatives there, so it's definitely going to stay positive. If we have a negative times a positive, well, there's one negative. Negative is one is an odd number of negatives, which means it's going to be negative. Now this one, a positive times a negative. Remember, one negative, it's an odd number of negatives, which means it's going to be negative. And then the last one here, negative times negative. Two negatives. 2 is an even number of negatives, so that means it cancels out and it's going to be positive. So I hope you remember doing those from a week or two ago. So let's look at this. How do we multiply fractions? And if we flip this up, when we multiply fractions, we will multiply the numerators together and then the denominators together. So here's an example. A over B times, remember this dot means times, C over D. A times C and B times D, and it ends up this way. So let's do some practice of this. So multiplying fractions is pretty simple because you're just multiplying straight across the numerators and you're multiplying straight across the denominators. So let's give it a try. And I'm going to close this. Oh, and also don't forget, if possible, make sure to reduce. So reduce and simplify are the same thing. So I'm going to close this so that we can see our recap of whether it's going to be positive or negative, and then also to remember how to simplify. So if we look at this first example, 4/7 times 2/8. Well, we know from the rule that we multiply the numerators and we multiply the denominators. I notice that all of these are positive. This one and this one are both positive. 2 positives, it's going to be positive, so I don't need to put a negative symbol here. 4 times 2 is 8. 7 times 8 is 56. Now, I can simplify both of these, but let's see how we do that. If we count by 8s, we find the factors of 8. 1 times 8, 2 times 4. That's how I would get 8. Let's try the factors of 56. 1 times 56, 2 times, 56 divided by 2 is 28. Let's see if 3 works. 56 divided by 3. No, let's try 4. 56 divided by 4. Oh, 4 times 14. Let's try 5. Would 5 work? No, because it's a 6. Let's try 6 and see. 56 divided by 6. No, that doesn't work. Let's try 7. 56 divided by 7. Yes, there we go. So 7 times 8 equals 56. So if you look, the largest number, the greatest number that they both have in common is 8. So I'm going to divide both by 8 because I know it's going to work. 8 divided by 8 is 1. 56 divided by 8 is 7. So my answer is 1/7. All right, so let's look at the next one as an example. I see 1 negative times 1 positive. 1 negative times 1 positive, my answer is going to be negative. So I'm going to go ahead and just bring that negative right on over. Now, we know for multiplying fractions, we're going to multiply the numerators together, and we're going to multiply the denominators together. So 9 times 15, so 9 times 5 is 45. So I'm going to put my 5, carry my 4. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 4 is 13. So 135. 12 times 10. Well, I know 10 times 10 is 100. Plus 10 is 110. Plus 10 is 120. I did it 12 times. So 120. Now, this is an improper fraction. And also, I can tell it can be simplified because 5 and 0 both work with dividing by 5. So let's divide both by 5. 135 divided by 5 equals 27. And then 120 divided by 5 equals 24. And don't forget your negative. Don't forget that. If you end up turning it positive, it's the opposite number, so it wouldn't be correct. Now, let's go ahead and turn this into, actually, I think we can still simplify this. So 27 and 24. Can I divide 27 by 3? Yeah. Can I divide 24 by 3? Yeah. Okay, let's see. Let's try 3. 27 divided by 3. And remember, if we can do a bigger number, that's okay. We'll simplify again. We already did 5. Now we're doing 3. We could have done a bigger number here. 27 divided by 3 is 9. Don't forget to bring over your negative. And 24 divided by 3 is 8. I think we're as far as we can go because neither one of these works with any other numbers but 1. And 1 won't change this at all. But what we can do is turn it into a mixed number. How many groups of 8 can I take from 9? Well, I can make 1, and I would still have 1 left over. Let's check. 1 times 8 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Yep, that works. And then the 8 is the same. So negative 1 and 1/8 is my answer. The hardest thing that's going to be is to keep remembering to bring that negative over when you simplify. So why don't you just go ahead and write it in your answer because you already know it'll be negative. Also, I showed you here, first we, let's see. There was an example yesterday. I'm going to open it. Yesterday, we turned things into improper fractions. We turned it into a mixed number first and then simplified, which is perfectly fine. So today I wanted to show you simplifying first and then turning it into a mixed number. Both ways are perfectly fine, okay? As long as you're doing your math right and dividing correctly, you will still end up with the right answer. So let's look at your practice problems that you have now. So on here, it looks pretty normal, except number 3 I'm noticing we need to talk about. So, and number 2 actually. So number 2 and number 3 have mixed numbers. So you're gonna have to do like what we did, never mind, that was a different day. You're gonna have to convert these into improper fractions. So really you're gonna have negative 5/6 times a negative what? Well, 1 times 4 is 4, plus 3 is 7, and then bring your denominator over. So really, this is what your problem looks like that you're going to be multiplying together. So down here, you're going to have to convert both of these to improper fractions and then multiply your numerators, multiply your denominators. Don't forget to just bring over your symbol if you need to, but this one has 2 negatives. So I hope you remember to look back at your notes to determine if it'll be negative or positive. Okay, good luck with it.